Good evening.
Gregg Adelman here on behalf of Toll Brothers. Thank you for the opportunity to present to the board this evening. We're here on a proposed settlement of litigation that transpired as a result of Toll Brothers' original submission in 2019 of a conditional use application for the proposed development of a portion of the All Saints Cemetery. It's about 158 acres or so along Twining Bridge Road and Durham Road 413 in the township. Toll appeared before this board in 2020 to have a conditional use hearing, which the board tabled because of COVID, a decision on that application, and then rendered a decision in August of 2020. So there was some delay as a result of the uncertainty of holding public meetings, either virtually or in person, when the pandemic initially began. The decision was issued, and written decision was issued in September of 2020, and Toll appealed. That conditional use plan, which is shown on the board directly to my left, proposed the creation of 45 single-family home lots. And the area that was to be disturbed comprised the overwhelming majority of the property going from Durham down Twining to the property boundary line. It was, according to Toll, and I also believe according to township engineers, compliant with zoning. And there were some bases that the board cited for its denial that Toll obviously disagreed with, which created the appeal. Subsequent to filing of the appeal, Toll approached the township with a request to engage in settlement discussions, as Toll believed there is a better way to develop this property in terms of the conservation management approach. The property is in your CM Conservation Management Zone, which obviously by its namesake is proposing to try to conserve as much open space and agricultural soils as possible. However, the conservation management zoning forces an applicant to create very large single-family lots, which is what Toll did, shown on the conditional use plan. As part of the settlement discussions, Toll believed that it could further cluster the proposed development, thereby increasing the amount of open space preserved, increasing the amount of agricultural soils preserved, and bringing the development further towards Durham Road as opposed to spreading it out across the site. So what Toll had proposed was a settlement plan, which is shown on the board to my far left, that takes the same number of units, 45, makes the lot sizes much smaller, and clusters the overall project into the, I believe it's the northwestern corner of the property. And the plan that I've just put up highlights the differences between the original conditional use plan, for which the appeal is pending, and the proposed settlement plan. The overall original conditional use plan on the plan to my left is highlighted in an overlay of red font, and the proposed settlement plan is indicated in the dark black font. So you can see the area to the south of the property. This location is where the original conditional use plan was proposing development. As you can see, based upon the darker font, there is no development proposed there in that area. The difference between the two plans, I believe, is significant, and I think it does further enhance the purposes of the conservation management zone. In particular, while the density is the same, the typical lot size on the conditional use plan was 35,000 square feet. Here in the settlement plan, the typical lot size is 20,000 square feet. So they've shrunk the lot sizes, which then allows you to cluster more. Same thing with the typical building envelope. Your zoning ordinance requires, it's very strange, requires a minimum building envelope of 15,000 square feet. You can't make it smaller. Whereas the settlement plan proposes to shrink that to 8,000 square feet, again, thereby permitting more clustering and more concentration of the development to further preserve open space and agricultural soils. As a result of the increase in clustering, the open space that was proposed under the conditional use plan, which was 88.5 acres, was increased by more than 30 acres to a total of 119.98, or almost 120 acres under the settlement plan. And consistent with that, your overall ag soils disturbance went down from 35.32 acres under the conditional use plan. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Your overall existing farmland retained went up from 38.51 acres to 59.2 acres. So again, another purpose of the Conservation Management District is to preserve farmland. In addition, your agricultural soils that are in the open space increased from 76 acres to 107.49 acres. If this board recalls, part of the conditional use plan proposed preserving agricultural soils, but including them within the individual lots, which is very hard to manage over time as individual homeowners buy their homes. It's a very tough enforcement mechanism for the township to prevent those soils from being disturbed. By clustering the lots, we've now preserved the ag soils in the large contiguous open space, so you know they will be forever there and undisturbed. In addition, another benefit under the settlement plan versus the conditional use plan was the total woodland disturbance went down by approximately an acre, about 2.3 to 1.4. And then the big issues that we were faced with in terms of laying out this development as a settlement plan versus the conditional use plan were the accesses. If you recall, the original conditional use plan proposed two accesses onto Twining Bridge Road. The settlement plan does not have any full movement access onto Twining Bridge Road. Instead, it has an access proposed to be directly across from North Drive at the existing signalized access on Durham Road on 413. There are emergency accesses proposed as well, so that way it's not the only singular access for health and safety reasons. One is located at the cul-de-sac along Durham Road. And then there's another one on the cul-de-sac by Twining Bridge Road. Very typical to most emergency access roads, we would propose that these would be gated or with a lock chain that's a breakaway chain, and the fire and emergency officials would have keys or whatever else the township would require in terms of standard limiting the access to only emergency vehicles. In addition, the proposed settlement plan proposes almost a mile of trails to connect your existing trailway to bring it around the perimeter of the property to allow for future connections depending upon where the township wants to extend it. So that overall trail was not included in the conditional use plan, but it is included as part of the settlement plan. And then lastly, the thing that I wanted to highlight was the overall open space area. We have a plan plan to my far left, in the area that's shaded all in gray, is the open space area that would be offered for dedication to the township. This could be used for passive open space or recreation. It could be used for active recreation. That would be up to whatever the township desired, but it's a very large, contiguous open space parcel consisting of just about 99 acres. Directly adjacent to this complex, so it's an ideal area of land for the township to hold, use as they see fit now and into the future for whatever needs you may have. It also has some natural resources. There's a stream corridor, riparian corridor running down through the middle of the property as well, so there's certainly natural features that are being preserved that will remain undisturbed as a result of the open space dedication. The internal road system of the development will remain private. That is one of the things that we had discussed as part of this settlement. So there'll be no maintenance costs to the township with respect to the internal roads for the development. The Toll Brothers will also agree as part of the land development plan, if the township were to approve this settlement agreement, to pay their traffic impact fee as well as do a traffic impact study as part of this project, and that's pretty standard here in the township in terms of requiring that analysis to be done. The overall project would have to be fully engineered and go through your land development review process. So that would then deal with landscaping, that would deal with all your different standards and provisions in terms of design and construction, and that would also subject us to township engineers review. So if the board sees fit to approve this plan tonight, it's not a full approval of the project. The project needs to come back and go through your land development plan process. So you have a preliminary final, and that would require us to go through all the engineering, including stormwater management as well, which I know is a very important issue to the township. Given that the conditional use process is more of a high-level, pre-engineering type of process, that stormwater management design obviously has not been fully engineered at this point. It would get fully engineered during the land development process. It would have to be approved by the township as well as by Conservation District or DEP, whoever would be reviewing the project. So all of that would have to be done in accordance with the applicable regulations. There's nothing in this settlement that shortchanges that or changes that requirement. They will all be standard and must be met. Oh, in addition, I'm sorry, I did mention that the trails will also be owned and maintained by the Future Homeowners Association, but they will be open to the public. So again, the township will not be required to maintain the trail system. That will be something that will be privately owned and maintained. So that, again, no impact to the township with respect to having that construction. We also had talked about some buffering along Twining Bridge Road. And the settlement agreement requires that buffering to be enhanced as opposed to what your ordinance would ordinarily require. As part of the settlement agreement, we've included exhibits that have been reviewed by the township engineer and landscape architects, and we've gone back and forth and come up with a way to stagger the buffering along the perimeter of the property so as to not fully screen but further mitigate any visual impacts that may occur from the existing roadways along Twining Bridge, as well as I believe on Durham as well. We have that buffering set up as well. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention, that we have moved beyond what your ordinance would ordinarily require and have enhanced that, and that would be an obligation imposed upon Toll Brothers as the developer under the settlement agreement. So that's a general overview of what is being proposed, and I believe also what is included in the settlement agreement that's before this board for consideration this evening. We're obviously happy to answer any questions the board may have with respect to what is proposed or what I've presented this evening, but that's a good overview of what's on the table in